Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrajkacharya Stototsa Shrimati Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Madhav Shri Shri Panchatat Shri Narsingadev Bhagavan Ki Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 3. The title of the chapter is The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. Text 15 and 16. Mitho yadaisham bhavita vivado madva madamart vilochananam madva madatamra vilochananam naisham vadhopaya iyanatonyo mayudyatentar dadate swayam sma mitho yadaisham bhavita vivado madva amadamar vilochanana naisham vadhopaya iyanatonyo mayudyatentar dadate swayam sma mitho yadaisham bhavita vivado madva madatamra vilochananam naisham vadopaya iyanatonyo mayudyatentar dadate swayam sma. Yadesham bhavita vivado madva madatamra vilochanana naisham vadapaya yanatonyo mayudyatentar dadate swayam sma. Yadaisham bhavita vivado madva madatamra vilochanana naisham vadopaya yanatonyo Vaishnavis. yadaisham bhavita vivada madhvanatam vilochananam naisham vadhopayayanatonya yudyatendara dadate swayam sma Mitho yadaisham bhavita vivada madhva madatamra vilochanana yanatanya Word by word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Mithaha, one another. Yada, when. Esham, of them. Bhavita, will take place. Vivadaha, quarrel. Madhu amada, intoxication by drinking. Atamra vilochananam, of their eyes being copper red. Na, not. Esham, of them. Vadha upayaha, means of disappearance. Iyan, like this. Ataha, besides this. Anyaha, alternative. Mai, on my. Udyate, disappearance. Antaha dadate, will disappear. Swayam, themselves. Sma, certainly. Translation. When they quarrel among themselves, influenced by intoxication, with their eyes red like copper because of drinking madhu, then only will they disappear. Otherwise, it will not be possible. On my disappearance, this incident will take place. Kindly repeat. When they quarrel among themselves, influenced by intoxication, with their eyes red like copper because of drinking madhu, then only will they disappear. Otherwise, it will not be possible. On my disappearance, this incident will take place. Purport. The Lord and His associates appear and disappear by the will of the Lord. They are not subjugated to the laws of material nature. No one was able to kill the family of the Lord, nor was there any possibility of their natural death by the laws of nature. The only means, therefore, for their disappearance was the make show of a fight amongst themselves, as if brawling in intoxication due to drinking. That so-called fighting would also take place by the will of the Lord. Otherwise, there would be no cause for their fighting. Just as Arjuna was made to be illusioned by family affection, and thus the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, so the Yadu dynasty was made to be intoxicated by the will of the Lord and nothing more. The devotees and associates of the Lord are completely surrendered souls. Thus they are transcendental instruments in the hands of the Lord and can be used in any way the Lord desires. The pure devotees also enjoy such pastimes of the Lord because they want to see Him happy. Devotees of the Lord never assert independent individuality. On the contrary, they utilize their individuality in pursuit of the desires of the Lord. And this cooperation of the devotees with the Lord makes a perfect scene of the Lord's pastime. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Ham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapte Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. When they quarrel among themselves, influenced by intoxication, with their eyes red like copper because of drinking madhu, then only will they disappear. Otherwise, it will not be possible. On my disappearance, this incident will take place. Hare Krishna. I heartily welcome all of you in today's morning Bhagavatam class and seek blessings from all the Vaishnavas. We are reading from Canto 3. Just to give the context of this verse, in the Canto 1, Sut Goswami briefly mentioned about Vidur and Maitreya's conversation. And he mentioned that how Vidur returned to Hastinapur after taking knowledge from Maitreya Muni. And he was describing the coronation of Parikshit Maharaj. So then, entire second canto completed. Towards the end of Canto 2, there was a description. Again, the sages at Naimisharanya inquired from Sut Goswami. You mentioned about Vidura taking knowledge from Maitreya Muni. Please tell us more about that. And Sut Goswami said the same questions were asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev Goswami. And that's how Canto 3 begins. So in the first chapter of Canto 3, the entire focus was on Uddhava. The Srimad Bhagavatam zoom in on the life of Uddhava, his qualification, and why Lord chose him to be the recipient of his instruction. Then in chapter 2, the zoom and the focus was on Vidura, his qualification, and how he met Uddhava and inquired questions from him. And then, based upon the inquiry from Vidura, Uddhav is speaking about Krishna. In the previous chapter, he spoke about Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan, and in this chapter, he's speaking about Lord's pastime out of Vrindavan, specifically in Mathura and Dwarka. So in the previous verses we saw, he spoke about Krishna's education and Krishna's marriage. And now he's briefly mentioning about Krishna's disappearance. You will see that Krishna's disappearance has been mentioned at several places in Bhagavatam. Canto 1, Canto 3, Canto 11 describes in great detail. Why? Because Parikshit Maharaj was also about to leave his body. And Shukdev Goswami wants to inspire renunciation in him and how to leave the body. And of course, we know this is one of the most bewildering pastime of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord's disappearance pastime. And there have been many commentaries just to describe the Lord's disappearance pastime. Specifically, every line that Srila Prabhupada writes here in this purport, there are elaborate commentaries behind it in the 11th canto. on every sentence of it. So, in today's presentation, I'll quickly touch upon various reasons why Lord performs this pastime, and we will. I'll reflect some of my own thought based upon purports that Srila Prabhupada gave here. So, a very important point Srila Prabhupada makes here in the purport, that devotees and associates of the Lord are completely surrendered soul. They are transcendental instrument in the hands of the Lord and can be used in any way the Lord desires. At the same time, Prabhupada writes, devotees of the Lord never assert independent individuality. On the contrary, they utilize their individuality in pursuit of the desires of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada, once he was giving Bhagavad Gita class, and he made a point, what was the transformation in Arjuna from chapter 1 and Arjuna in chapter 18? And he said, in the chapter 1, Arjuna said, no Krishna, I will not fight. No sir. And he said, just like Arjuna said, no Krishna, this is the symptom of all conditioned soul, that from time immemorial we are being saying, no Krishna. And the entire Bhagavad Gita was spoken just to convert this 2-letter word to a 3-letter word. No to yes. Yes, Krishna, I will do. And he explains that this journey from no to yes can take lifetimes, or it can happen very quickly. And this is the journey of spiritual life. No Krishna to yes, Krishna, I'll do that. What stops us? What stops a living entity from saying yes, Krishna? In chapter 18, Arjuna said, Karishye vachanam tava. My dear Lord, I'll do whatever you say. If we reflect in our own lives, what will it take for us to say, yes, Krishna, whatever you say, I will do it? And what are some of the things that stops a person from coming to this stage? Okay, material attachments, sense enjoyment, our own insecurities, the biggest obstacle, another 3-letter word, but, B-U-T. I want to say yes to Krishna, but, and fill in the blanks, and everyone has their own individual fill in the blanks to do. So what will it take to erase this B-U-T, but, and to totally say, yes, Krishna, I'm yours, and I'll do whatever you say. Just like here, Srila Prabhupada mentions, in context of Yadus. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, he sum totals all the reasons into the jiva has causeless unwillingness to serve the Lord. Just like it said, pure devotional service is ahetuki apratihata, causeless and without interruption. It says the conditioned living entity has causeless unwillingness to serve the Lord. That is spiritual life is all about, and the more Srila Rupa Goswami describes the different stages of bhakti, how the Shraddha condensed from Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sang, Bhajan Kriya, Anarth Nivritti. The more this faith gets deepened, condensed, the more there is willingness to say yes, yes, Krishna. So at whatever place we are in spiritual life, we can all just ask, what will it take for me to take just one more step and say yes, one more? And this choice is practically at every moment, right from the waking up in the morning. Will I go to Mangal Aarti today? No, because there are so many reasons. But what would it take? Yes. And it might be a struggle every day, But that's the choice, that's the practice, devotional service in practice. Till the time one comes on the level of rag, the source of inspiration has to be Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Another point that Srila Prabhupada writes, that Yadavas were so strong that no one could kill them. And that's why Krishna orchestrated this entire pastime in such a way that they fought amongst themselves. Material laws of nature cannot kill them. It is said, what to talk about killing them? No one in the three worlds had the power to even insult them. They were so strong. They could trample all the demigods as well. They are the personal associates of Krishna. So, Krishna orchestrated this entire episode just to remove Yadavas. And Srila Prabhupada makes a point in context of Krishna consciousness movement that again and again we hear from senior devotees that it's not the external danger. It's Krishna consciousness movement can be destroyed from within. Only when devotees fight amongst themselves can that fracture the entire movement. And when the devotees come together and cooperate and love and have wonderful relationship, then this movement grow and prosper more and more. And that's why Srila Rupa Goswami writes about the 6 loving exchanges in Updeshamrit. And Srila Prabhupada said that ISKCON has been established just to facilitate these 6 loving exchanges. And it's right that our spiritual lives is nourished by these 6 loving exchanges. And it is so inspiring and wonderful to see, specifically in ISKCON Mayapur community, that there are practically tens and tens of forums, practically hundreds of forums where these 6 loving exchanges are facilitated. There are so many educational programs going on wherein the student can inquire in confidentiality and hear the answers from senior devotees. There are such massive prasadam distribution that is going on. There are so many the kirtan programs that are going on. So there is abundant opportunity where devotees can come in and experience these 6 loving exchanges in ISKCON Mayapur. Another point that Srila Prabhupada writes here, that how the Yadavas were totally surrendered to Krishna. And similar sentiment is expressed by Srila Prabhupada himself when he wrote on Jalduta, Prabhu kahe ami narta katumi sutradhara tumi yachai na chao tachi narta na amar. Not this. Aniyacho jadi Prabhu amara nachate, nachao Prabhu, nachao se mate, kaschera putli jatha, nachao se mate. Srila Prabhupada writes, Oh Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. In scriptures, we will see it's not just the devotees who are expressing a sentiment like this. Even the Supreme Lord expresses a similar sentiment. Do you know any place in scripture where the Lord is saying about the devotees? Here the devotees are, Prabhupada writes here that they completely surrender to the Supreme Lord. They align their own individuality, their own will. They use their own individuality to fulfill the will of the Lord. And Prabhupada expresses this sentiment. But in scriptures, we see the Supreme Lord expressing this sentiment towards devotees. Yes, Amrish, in the pastime of Amrish Maharaj. Any other place can you think of in the scriptures where the Supreme Lord is saying, is totally surrendering to the devotee? Mother Yashoda and Krishna, In Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Lord wanted to go to South India, and there was a discussion happening, who would accompany the Lord? And everyone is requesting the Lord, I can go along with you. And Nityanand Prabhu says, my dear Lord, I'll accompany you. I'll protect you from all the thieves and so on. And then Lord Chaitanya said, Prabhu kahe aminar tak tumi sutradhara, tumi yache nachao tache nartana amara. The Lord replied, I am simply a dancer, and you are the wire puller. However you pull the wires to make me dance, I shall dance in that way. But then he said, after accepting the sannyas order, I decided to go to Vrindavan. But you took me instead to the house of Advait Prabhu. When I was going to Jagannath Puri, on the way you broke my sannyas stuff. I know that all of you have great affection for me, but such thing disturbs my activities. So he spoke in context of Nityanand Prabhu. And then Lord Chaitanya again, he said about Vasudev Dutt, and Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela says, Vasudev Dutt was the 19th branch of Sri Chaitanya tree, and he was the most confidential devotee of the Lord. It said, one cannot describe his qualities even with 1,000 mouths. So he was a resident of Chhattagram, and in Chaitanya Bhagavat it is said, Yarasthane Krishna Haya Apane Vikraya. It says, Vasudev Dutt was such a powerful devotee that Krishna was purchased by him. So when he used to be at Srivas Pandit house, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased with Vasudev Dutt and so affectionate toward him, and he used to say, I am only Vasudev Dutt's man. My body is only meant to please Vasudev Dutt, and he can sell me anywhere. And after saying this, thrice he vowed that no one should disbelieve these statements. All my dear devotees, I tell you the truth. My body is specially meant for Vasudev Dutt. So it's always reciprocal. The devotees, he wants to surrender to the Lord, and the devotees in turn, he is so deeply attached to the Lord. So later on, Vasudev Dutt initiated Yadunandan Acharya, who was the spiritual master of Raghunath Das, and he's the one who made that unbelievable prayer. He said, please deliver all the living entities, let me take all the sins, let me suffer, go to hell, And Mahaprabhu's heart melted like anything. And that's the love between the Lord and the devotees. So, but again, that question comes, why Krishna enacted this pastime? We hear about Krishna's compassion in the previous chapter. Aho bakiyam stanakala kotam jiggasayapayapya sadvi. We hear about Krishna's beautiful form. Barha pidam natavarvapu karnayoho karnikaram. So now here, why he is enacting? If objectively we see, Krishna is inspiring his devotees to fight amongst each other and is annihilating from the planet Earth. So someone who is trying to become a devotee, who is hearing about Krishna's compassion, and when they come and hear that Krishna can orchestrate these kind of activities also. So how to understand this? This is very bewildering. And therefore, many acharyas, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Sridhar Swami, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada gave elaborate purports just to explain this pastime. The first point they make, that all these pastimes are happening by Lord's internal potency. And they give various reasons to establish that. Why? How is it that these pastimes are not an act of external activity, but an internal activity? So under that, the first point they make that Krishna is beyond death. They said the Lord Krishna brought his son of his Guru back from the planet of the Lord of Death in the same, self-same body. He gave protection to Parikshit Maharaj from Brahmastra. Brahmastra could not do anything. He defeated Lord Shiva in a battle. In which pastime he defeated Lord Shiva? Banasur pastime. And the person who came to kill him, Jara, he was sent to Vaikuntha in that body. So Krishna is beyond death. He could not be killed by Jara. And at the same time, the Yadus, if we talk about Yadus, even they are the dear associates of the Lord. So the curse that the Brahmana and sages gave based upon the prank of many kings, the Samba, he took a club, he dressed like a lady and went in the front of the sages. Is it a boy or is it a girl? And the sages could understand the prank and they cursed him. That this will become the cause of the annihilation of the entire Yadu dynasty. So the Acharya says that Yaduvas were very powerful and very dear to Krishna. They were imbued with divine qualities. They were charitable, they were inclined to serve, respectful. They were very respectful to Brahmanas. They were constantly dedicated to protecting cows. So because they had divine qualities, they could not be afflicted with such things. So then it says that because they were associates of the Lord, they could not have offended the sages. And neither the sages were controlled by anger due to some prank or play of some kings. And then they say, the sages could have easily overlooked that prank because they were the dear devotees of the Lord. They were the family members of the Lord. So Yadus took intoxication after being permitted by the Lord and the sages. And this pastime happened because all the demigods were supposed to go to the heavenly planet. So at least 12 reasons are described by Acharya. At least 12 I can find, there would be many more, about why Lord performed this pastime where entire Yadu dynasties were killed. So first point is from a viewpoint of practical management. That Lord contemplated that it's my time to go back, but the demigods, those who have come on the planet Earth to assist me in my pastime, they are supposed to go to their own abode as well. So the Lord's eternal Nitya Sangi, they remained at Dwarka, and all those who were from the demigods, heavenly planets, they came to Prabhas Kshetra and they engaged in the fight. And this became a reason to return to their abode. The second reason they explain is based upon the compassion for the world. How? They said the Yadavas, they were so deeply attached to the Lord. And when the Lord would disappear, based upon the intense feeling of separation from Krishna, these Yadavas, who knows how they will act? Oftentimes we see, when someone dear to us passes away, and there is so intense grief, people react in various different ways. And these Yadavas, who are like crores and crores in number, and they are so powerful that no one can beat them, when they would feel intense separation from me, they would trample the whole earth to save people in general and for life to continue. Lord decided before I disappear, they need to disappear. The third reason, they describe that as a service to Bhumi Devi. So in the previous purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that how Yadavas are burden on earth. Yadavas had become burden on earth. And Srila Prabhupada describes there are two kinds of burden. Burden of beast and burden of love. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains he gives three examples. He says, the weight of a husband on wife, the weight of a child on a mother, and the weight of wealth on a businessman. They are all burden, but they are a source of pleasure. So they are burden of love. So similarly, Yadavas, when they became a burden, that's a burden of love, not the burden of beast. In that context, it is written. But Krishna did not want Mother Earth to have even this burden, because she did not want Bhubdemi to deal with the emotional outburst of Yadavas feeling separation from him. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives another example here. It says, just like there's a young married wife decorated in golden ornaments, so that is heavy. So it is not a burden on that lady. She's doing it out to please her husband. But husband still takes out those ornaments from a young delicate wife. So similarly, Krishna, as a service to Bhudevi, he enacted this pastime and he wanted to take Yadavas back. The fourth point that our Acharya says, to protect Yadavas. How? So Krishna noticed that some Yadavas have started becoming inimical. And they have started thinking, what is the difference between me and Krishna? We are equal to him. From mundane vision, they started to see. So familiarity breeds contempt. So to rectify that mentality also, Krishna enacted this pastime. Another reason that our acharyas give, the fifth reason, to establish the right standard. Krishna was concerned that when I'll disappear, these Yadavas will behave in very different, weird ways. And people in general would think this is how a confidential devotee of the Lord is supposed to act in this world. They may not see how they acted when Lord was present. But now when they're trampling the earth, or some of them have becoming whimsical in their behavior, so general public would take that to be the standard. It's always, easy to accept the lower standard than the higher standard. So that's another reason that our acharyas give. The sixth reason is about Vairagya, to inspire renunciation. Krishna appeared in this world. He enacted wonderful pastimes. He killed Putna, his lovely pastimes in Vrindavan, all the Uddhava is recalling, and in Mathura and Dwarka, and how he married 16,000 wives, how he built 16,000 palaces, his beautiful form and everything. So at one place, Srila Prabhupada writes, Krishna did not want to stay for long in material world because it would unnecessarily increase the prestige of this world. And therefore, he wanted to make a point, no matter how wonderful this can be, my pastimes are, but this world is temporary. Ultimately, you have to leave this world. So to inspire Vairagya or renunciation in people in general, Krishna enacted this pastime. The seventh and very interesting point that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes this point about impersonalism, that how Krishna orchestrated this entire pastime to protect people in general from impersonalism. How? Krishna was concerned that this is Krishna's family and they are so powerful. People in general may think they are equal to Krishna. They are same as Krishna. So Krishna wanted to establish a point that even a living entity as powerful, as wonderful, almost equal to me, in all these things, still they are not Krishna. They are different from me. And therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes, to protect people in general from impersonalism, Krishna orchestrated this pastime. Another point Acharya says, to establish the uselessness of Sahajism. Samba dressed up like a girl and came in the front of the sages and they asked, is it a boy or is it a girl? And the Samba was imitating a woman. So similarly, Prakrit Sahajya also imitate. Jagannath Das Babaji gives an example that simply by crying, a woman will not give birth to a child. A woman who is undergoing labor, she may cry because there is intense pain. But simply by crying and without actually conceiving, woman won't give birth. So they described simply by crying and rolling on the ground, you will not attain Krishna Prem. Someone who is in ecstasy, they may cry out of their natural emotion. But just by imitating won't lead to any kind of spiritual transformation. So to establish the uselessness of Sahajism. Another reason our acharyas gives is to establish this, that birth is not a spiritual qualification. Krishna was concerned that Yadavas, they are becoming so influential, and simply by out of this pride that we are the family members of Krishna, they may unnecessarily misuse their influence and power. So simply by taking birth in a particular family, in a particular location, does not give a spiritual qualification. Another reason our acharyas give is that to establish that if you offend a Brahman or a Vaishnava, even if that person is my own family member, there will still be consequences. So he was establishing the principle of serving a pure devotee. Lord Chaitanya demonstrated this as well from his own pastime. When Mother Sachi, he said, because she has offended Advaita Acharya, I'll not give Krishna Prem to him. And in Indian cultures, there's a common saying that when a mother wants to teach her daughter-in-law, she chastises her own daughter. So similarly, when the Supreme Lord, he wants to give a lesson to people in general, he chastises his own devotees. The 11th reason our acharyas give, based upon the, why Lord enacted this pastime, to establish that the Supreme Lord is supremely equal. That Krishna establishes that if someone breaks an etiquette, even if that person is one's own family member, one's own dear, he is equal to all. He'll not just excuse because you're so dear to me. And to establish that he's supremely equal to everyone. The 12th reason that acharyas give to establish that there is no place for duplicity in devotional service. And our acharyas write that a real preacher exposes pseudo devotee. You know, there are people, there can be persons being dressed like a devotee, having a mala, but they are engaging in blaspheming bhakta and engaging in blaspheming the process of bhakti. So those are called a pseudo devotee. So just like Samba dressed like something else, it was duplicious. To establish that duplicity destroys devotional service, that a club of duplicity cannot bring peace. So yes, so that's, I'm sure there are more reasons as well that Krishna enacted this entire pastime of Yadavas being vanquished from this planet. So, this purport speaks about Mitho Yadaisham Bhavita Vivado Yadaisham. Yada means when, Esham. Bhavita. and Mitha. Mitha means one another. Yada means when. When those Yadavas fight one another, what would happen? Madhva madatam rvilochananam. Why would they fight? Madhu amad, in the intoxication of Madhu. Atamar vilochananam. And their vilochana, their netra will become like copper red in that intoxication. And why this would happen? Naisham vadhopaya iyanatonyo. Because vadho upaya means. There is no other means for their disappearance. Only when they fight amongst themselves. Mayudyatentara dadate swayam sva. And anta dadate, they will disappear. Swayam, they will disappear. They'll fight and they'll disappear themselves. When I will disappear, udyate, when I will disappear. Right? And Prabhupada is mentioning that these associates, they appear and disappear by the will of the Lord. They are not subjected to the laws of the Lord. No one is able to kill the family of the Lord. And how, just like Arjuna was put in an illusion so that the Bhagavad Gita could come, similarly, these Yadavas were made intoxicated by the internal potency of the Lord, not by the external potency. The devotees, they utilize their individuality in pursuit of the desires of the Lord. And this cooperation of devotees and the Lord makes a perfect scene of the Lord's pastime. These were few of my thoughts from this purport. I'll stop here. I'll leave some time for question answers. If you have any questions, comments, anything, reflections, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, wonderful explanations today about the disappearance of Lord. Prabhu, soon after Lord disappeared, why the reasons, why the queens like Rukmini, Satyabhama and etc., they were also taken into very bad shape after the Lord's disappearance.
The Lord's disappearance?
The queens like Rukmini, Satyabhama, because Rukmini is nothing but a Lakshmi Devi and Satyabhama is a manifestation of earth. How they are also faced in such a very bad consequences before their disappearance.
Yeah, that description comes in Canto 1, that how then Arjuna was escorting them, right? That entire pastime comes in Canto 1.
Yes.
Actually, there are so many different aspects to this pastime, you know. We can go on and there are separate discussion, elaborate discussion that even when Lord disappeared, why he left a material body behind. So Sridhar Swami gives a complete description that how Lord is contemplating that while I am here, the dharma has increased so much that it has gone beyond the Satya Yuga. And when he was at Kurukshetra, Kali came in disguise and requested the Lord, you know, this is my time to rule this land. When will that happen? He says, it won't happen till the time I am here. Now when his time is complete, he is contemplating, you know, the dharma is flourishing. Even if I disappear, there are devotees, there are Yadavas, and there are demigods who will ensure that dharma would flourish more and more. Those who are neutral, seeing the devotion of all and the dharma of all, they will become devotees. Those who are already devotees, their love would increase 100 times more. So how is it possible that Kali can enter? And therefore, he said, he left his body behind. When people will start thinking him to be an ordinary person, when people will start thinking him to be a mortal being, that's how the 3 legs of dharma at least will be destroyed, and that will how Kali will enter. And then, you know, we can, how can we know if something is happening in our life, some obstruction is coming, some fall down are happening. Is it by the divine will of the Lord, or is it out of the external potency of the Lord? Did Yadavas know that they are under being internal potency or no? Oftentimes, you know, we underestimate the contribution of previous acharyas, saying Srila Prabhupada, oh, he was a Nitya Parikar of the Lord. He was the eternal associate of the Lord. he could accomplish all this. He may not have to undergo so much of pain and botheration because he was the eternal associate of the Lord. But Srila Prabhupada himself said, all of his difficulties and suffering were real. When he had heart attack, it meant problematic. He was experiencing cold. How many of us have ever experienced being in a foreign land and all our possessions are stolen, or being abandoned by our family members, or not having money just for even a next meal and breakfast, and the whole world is turned on. All those struggles were real. Just by saying that they are eternal associate of the Lord, we should not minimize Srila Prabhupada's struggles and what he has to undertake to establish this movement. So how do we know that if something happens in our life, is that by the will of the Lord? Or is it is it a result of my past karma or action? I don't know. But Vidura, when Vidura was insulted, because he was in knowledge, Vidura could see that this entire pastime is happening by the will of the Lord. Whereas Dhritarashtra, he saw the same situation being situated in the external potency of the Lord. So the same scenario, same situation. The devotee saw it as the will of the Lord, and someone whose consciousness is not that developed, he was under the external potency of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada writes in that purport. So it's based upon the development of consciousness and will of the Lord or not will of the Lord. How do we respond? That choice and decision we still need to make. Based upon dharma, based upon shastra, and based upon guidance of devotees. It's just
Thank you, Prabhu, for a very nice class, very well researched. Thank you very much. Just to add a little bit to this discussion, ultimately it happens according to the will of the Lord because he is Upadrishta, Anumanta. So he is the overseer and the permitter. So in some cases he will allow such things to happen just for the devotee to learn lessons and come closer to him. At some times, he will actively intervene, even if a situation was going to be really, really bad, to mitigate that so that devotee can continue in his devotional life. So he's the ultimate controller, whether it's my bad karma, good karma, whatever it is. Krishna is completely in control, and he may allow some things to happen or he may not. That's his sweet will. But in any case, we have to continue with our devotional service, whatever it may be. So that's just a little bit I wanted to. I have a question, if you will kindly permit me.
Yes. Just before that, just to add on to this, I read about this. This is the symptom of an Uttam Adhikari. And Srila Prabhupada was making a point in lecture that someone who can see this person is acting inimical to me, this is being sanctioned by the Supreme Lord, one who can see in this way, and he himself does not become inimical to that person, that is an Uttam Adhikari. And then he goes on to explain, but one should not artificially imitate. Otherwise, you will come in problems, he mentioned. Yes.
So at one point you said, birth has no spiritual qualification. I would like a little more clarity on that, because my understanding, even from the Bhagavad Gita, is that whatever devotional services we have done in previous lifetime gives us some eternal spiritual credit, and person takes birth in a family of transcendentalists or aristocracy, etc., and picks up where they left off. So birth in a particular family or in a particular situation or with particular spiritual acumen is definitely mentioned in the scripture. So kindly explain what you mean by that statement.
And yes, Lord Chaitanya said, Bharata bhumite hoile, manushya janmajar. Is he not speaking about birth here? Yes, so birth certainly has a role, but it is not, birth alone is not a factor of spiritual qualification. It may play some role, but no one can claim, because I'm born in such a such way, in such and such country, in such and such family, therefore I'm a devotee. And Prabhupada gives an example. One may be born as a son of High Court judge. So the entire environment and the culture will facilitate his learning of that subject. But he cannot claim, because I'm a son of this, he still have to clear his exam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Certainly, the devotional birth is the most glorious birth. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for your kind attention and presence. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.